Good afternoon. My name is Liz Collins and I'm Claudia's mum. That video was actually made when Claudia was 4 and she's 13 now. So obviously being a teenager brings a whole other host of difficulties besides having EB. She's quite a sassy young lady and full of attitude. Even the other day we were out shopping, as she loves clothes like any other teenager, and she wanted a pair of hot pants, and I said to her, why don't you put a pair of tights on now with them to cover them bandages? And she was like, why would I be covering the bandages? They're part of me. She said, you need to get over yourself. She said, it's your problem, not mine. So I said, okay. I won't go into the complete scientific end of EB, but basically, because I'm all about the basic, EB is a genetic skin condition. So we're all born with 3 layers of skin: your dermis, your epidermis, and your collagen. Anybody born with EB is born with no collagen. So the anchor to knit the 2 layers of skin together just isn't there. So it means internally and externally, the patients are very, very badly affected. And it leads to a whole host of problems that I won't go into. At this stage, Claudia has just finished first year in school, and that was a massive, massive challenge. She partially uses a wheelchair. She's eating difficulties, swallowing difficulties, even going to the toilet causes a problem. And then daily dressings every second day, which takes 3.5 hours. We're absolutely delighted that Anne chose Debra Ireland to be part of Inspirefest. To be honest, I never heard of Inspirefest. I didn't know what it was. But once the fest was mentioned to me, I was thinking of Electric Picnic, Body and Soul. I was like, yeah, I'll be all over that. That'd be great. I might get to see a few bands. But so I got on to Google, as I do. I Google everything. So I had a little look, and I looked at some of the speeches from last year, and I totally got it. And I love the whole gig of women empowering women, because I just love strong women. I just think we're the backbone of society and the backbone of families in general. Debra Ireland then is the charity behind people with EB, and research is the key. There's loads of projects going on all over the world, but Debra Ireland do fund one out in UCD, and you know, maybe not in Emma's and Claudia's lifetime will there be a cure, but there is a cure on the way, and I know that for sure. It's like they have all the bits of the jigsaw, and someone just needs, maybe someone in this audience here needs to bring all the bits of this jigsaw together to find the missing link. And then, please God, EB will be eradicated from this world in general. I'm sure there's plenty of mothers in the audience here, and I'm a working mother myself, and I know the juggle is really, really hard. To have a mother of a sick child is hard, but to be the mother of a child that has a chronic, incurable illness is just horrendous. A brief synopsis, say there, the weekend we were out in a theme park, and Claudia was having a great day, and she got into one of these teacup things that swing you around, like, that make you sick. And there was a group of other kids in the teacup with her, say, and they were pointing at her, and they told her that she was ugly. And then they actually were talking about her in front of her. And it was just last night when the minister was talking about inclusion. I was saying all the technology that we have at the tips of our fingers, and yet basic manners, dignity, and respect for people in the world, it still isn't there. We're still nowhere near where we should actually be. So I was delighted when the minister was talking about inclusion, because it's not just inclusion, it's inclusion of everybody, especially people with disabilities. I told my brother last week that I had been asked to speak at this, and he was breaking his heart laughing, because his nickname for me is Blizzard, and that's a cross between Blonde, Dizzy, and Liz. And he says, and he's a techie, and he works for a big computer company, and he was like, they asked you to speak at that. He said, you don't know how to sort out the remote controls of the telly, and I don't, and that's true, you know. But I am a mother, and I'm extremely passionate about EB and putting her on the map, because awareness is key. And, you know, even to be able to go out in public and sit in McDonald's and have a meal with your kid, for somebody to say, oh yeah, that's EB, that's that genetic skin condition. So I know in this room the inventors, the brains, all the beautiful minds are all here. So when you're working and doing it, please keep us in mind and, you know, keep thinking outside the box, keep doing what you're doing. For me, I feel so honoured to be here. I can't thank Anne enough for allowing us to be here. But it's just such a rightful place for me and Emma to be here today, because I live with inspiration every single day through my daughter. She inspires me. She's the reason why I get up every single day. So thank you so much for listening to me anyway, and I'll pass you over to Emma now. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma, as Liz said, and I was really hoping Liz's speech wouldn't end there because I was terrified of this moment when I would have to speak. As Anne said, I was 33 last week. I'm hoping I could say that I was 23 last week, but that really isn't the case. I have lived all my life with EB. It's the worst living form that I have and myself and Claudia have. I was born in '84 into a world, a country that had no idea what EB was. When I was born with no skin on my left foot and my right arm. So the doctors were completely shocked. There was no ideas, no giveaways that something was wrong during the pregnancy. So they were completely shocked and had no idea what to do. I was rushed to Crumlin Hospital where they diagnosed me with EB, and the doctors there at that time told my parents that I wouldn't last a week and it would be better off if I didn't. And you can imagine, as 25-year-old parents with their first baby and all their hopes and dreams ahead of them, that must have been crushing, as I'm sure it was for Liz. But I stayed 3 months in hospital. I lived those 3 months, and they brought me home and we adapted to a life of EB. It was very difficult. We had lots of challenging times. But I went to primary school and I loved every minute of it. When I came into primary school, they all accepted me for who I was and what I was. And I got on with everyone and loved every minute of it. There is one moment I can remember of being a child, and I loved my bicycle. I loved to cycle my bike. And one day I was cycling it, and I was cycling it obviously too fast because it tipped over and I fell off the bike. And I'll never forget it, I don't think, in my whole life. I'll never forget it, and I don't think my parents will either. The skin came off my 2 knees, my 2 hands, my nose, my elbows, anything that touched the ground or hit the ground, the skin came off. And that was a horrific, horrific moment. But I continued on. I went to secondary school. I completed my leaving cert. I did relatively well. It was difficult because I had school and then I had to go home and do a 4-hour bandage change. I went on, I moved out of home at 18 to the horrific death of my parents. They nearly died to hear that I was moving out of home. But I did, and I was determined to, and I went to Limerick and I studied business and marketing. And then I came to Dublin and I worked in the bank for 3 years, and I loved every minute of it. But every one of those came with obstacles. Nothing came easy to me, whether it was going to the shops or going to work. They were all very difficult. But when I moved out, I got a PA, and that person basically became my mother. They gave me my medication, they gave me my food, they hooked me up to my feeding system at night because EB is internal as well. So it was very difficult, all those things, but I was very determined. And up to 3 years ago, I learned how to drive, and I passed my driving test first go. And I have to say that was a very proud moment for me, and I think for my family, because all my life I've been told, no, you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do this, you can't do that. But I always like to say, no, I can, and I will, and I want to. And now I'm the patient ambassador of Debra Ireland, and it's a role that I cherish and I love. And it's an amazing charity, I think, to be a part of. If anyone in this room is going to pick a charity to support, to help in a small way, whether it's retweeting a tweet on Twitter or supporting us in some bigger way, They're an amazing charity. To us, when I was born, there was nothing. There was no dermatology doctor with EB. There was no Debra Ireland. There was nothing. And to have Debra Ireland now for their younger children, it's amazing, and they're lucky, because Debra Ireland isn't just a charity. We're a family, and they care about us. And if I rang them up and had a problem tomorrow morning, they'd drop everything and help me with that problem. And they're a team, and we work really well together, and they work really well for us, and they help us with anything that they can. What's the most important today, I think, is awareness. We have a stand outside on the first floor, I think it is, and we need people to get their tattoos on. Liz has one on. Show them up. Gone. Liz has one on. I want everyone to go out and get a tattoo. Stand with us. Stand by our side. Support us in any way, whatever it is. But support us in any way, and put it up on Twitter. Share it, everyone. If everyone in this room told 3 people, 5 people, we will be going a long way, because we need to get this charity on the map. So thank you very much.